I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
The gay marriage debate has been an unresolved issue in the modern era. Obama's recent support has caused even more controversy, bringing up the question of whether this is a campaign tactic to rally the younger generation in an attempt to further separate himself from the conservatives, or is he sticking his neck out for what he believes in? As the issue evolves, further distance has been created between the younger and older generations. Since 2004, 8 states have legalized gay marriage, beginning with Massachusetts, and 31 states have constitutional amendments banning gay marriage. North Carolina has just recently added an amendment to its state constitution as a result of popular vote forbidding the marriage of homosexuals. Some fear that legalizing gay marriage will lead to the approval of other non-traditional relationships. Others see marriage defined in the Bible as a union between a man and a woman and believe that any variation is a right in the eyes of God. The opposing view offers the point that disallowing gay marriage is just a modern form of discrimination, suggesting that same-sex couples are accepted by society. So is this an issue of religion and preserving the sanctity of marriage, or is it just a fear of change? We will explore the different viewpoints on the topic, investigating why the issue has caused such a divide in our nation tonight on 60 Minutes. I first spoke with Tammy Fitzgerald, a leader of the organization Vote for Marriage NC, whose goal is to protect and preserve the institution of marriage by barring homosexuals from the right to marry. Her organization has a large following, and their efforts have been successful with the new North Carolina amendment. However, the group receives many criticisms for being anti-gay. Many people refer to your organization, Vote for Marriage North Carolina, as anti-gay. Is this how you feel?
We're not anti-gay, we're pro-marriage, and the whole point, is simply that you don't rewrite the nature of God's design for marriage based on the demands of a group of adults. Marriage is a sacred promise that has existed for so long. I don't think the whole concept and sanctity behind marriage should be changed or destroyed because of a liberal trend that has swept the nation recently.
So I assume that you're very pleased with the passing of the same-sex marriage ban in North Carolina.
Yes, I had been confident that the people of North Carolina would rise up and vote to keep the opposition from redefining traditional marriage. North Carolina is typically very socially conservative, so it doesn't come as much of a surprise to me that the popular vote opposed same-sex marriage. I still fear the future of our nation, especially because Obama has recently admitted to supporting same-sex marriage, but for now I am proud of North Carolina for preserving the traditional values that are and have been such a part of American culture for so many years.
Do you support the claim that same-sex marriage should be banned because the Bible deems it wrong and unholy, or does your opposition to same-sex marriage stem from some other social or political issues?
I think that same-sex marriage is wrong because God says so. That's why. The point is made clear in the Bible, and there's no arguing that.
To rebut your point, one person said that God doesn't exist and the government should not discriminate against gay people on the basis of some lady's characterization of the intentions of an imaginary being. You may disagree with me about the existence of God, but given what some people think there is a God, some don't, and some think there is one, but she's fine with gay marriage. The government shouldn't be picking sides.
People can say what they want, but I know that the truth lies in God's words and also in North Carolina's latest decision. Hopefully the people of North Carolina that support same-sex marriage will realize that my efforts against same-sex marriage are going to help the people of North Carolina in the long run. My next interview was Billy Graham, a Southern Baptist minister whose views on homosexuality are solely based on religion and what he interprets as the view of God stated by the Bible. He has stated his support of the North Carolina amendment to ban gay marriage on numerous accounts, staying true to his evangelical beliefs. What are your views on homosexuality?
In the Bible, Leviticus 18:22, it states, "You shall not lie with a male, as one lies with a female. It's an abomination." Clearly, homosexuality is condemned as a sin in the Bible. Are we to conclude that God changes his mind and says that for one group of people, homosexuality is a sin, but for another it is not?
Sometimes it is said that the Bible does not record any words of Jesus about homosexuality, and therefore it must be acceptable by God.
The Bible does not record sayings of Jesus about a number of other specific sins either.
Well, some have tried to reinterpret what the Bible says in an effort to approve homosexual relationships.
God created Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. This signifies that God ordained order of male and female, not male and male or female and female. There are no exceptions suggested. From Genesis on, the Bible praises the marriage of man and woman, but it speaks only negative of homosexual behavior whenever it is mentioned. God is our creator, and he has determined what is right and what is wrong. The rules come from God and therefore must be obeyed. There is no room for compromise.
This ad is sponsored by MoveOn.org.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Zach Walls. I'm a sixth-generation Iowan and an engineering student at the University of Iowa, and I was raised by two women. My biological mother, Terry, told her grandparents that she was pregnant, that the artificial insemination had worked, and they wouldn't even acknowledge it. It actually wasn't until I was born and they succumbed to my infantile cuteness that they broke down and told her that they were thrilled to have another grandson. Unfortunately, neither of them would live to see her marry her partner, Jackie, of 15 years when they wed in 2009. My younger sister and only sibling was born in 1994. We actually have the same anonymous donor, so we're full siblings, which is really cool for me. I guess the point is that my family really isn't so different from any other Iowan family. When I'm home, we go to church together. We eat dinner, we go on vacations. But we have our hard times too. We get in fights. My mom, Terry, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2000. It is a devastating disease that put her in a wheelchair, so we've had our struggles. But we're Iowans. We don't expect anyone to solve our problems for us. We fight our own battles. We just hope for equal and fair treatment for our government. Being a student at the University of Iowa, the topic of same-sex marriage comes up quite frequently in class discussions. The question always comes down to, can gays even raise kids? And the conversation gets quiet for a moment because most people really don't have an answer. And then I raise my hand and say, well, actually, I was raised by a gay couple and I'm doing pretty well. I scored in the 99th percentile on the ACT. I'm an Eagle Scout. I own and operate my own small business. If I was your son, Mr. Chairman, I believe I'd make you very proud. I'm not so different from any of your children. My family really isn't so different from yours. After all, your family doesn't derive its sense of worth from being told by the state, you're married, congratulations. The sense of family comes from the commitment we make to each other to work through the hard times so we can enjoy the good ones. It comes from the love that binds us. That's what makes a family. So what you're voting for here is not to change us. It's not to change our families. It's to change how the law views us, how the law treats us. You're voting for the first time in the history of our state to codify discrimination into our Constitution. A Constitution that, but for the proposed amendment, is the least amended Constitution in the United States of America. You are telling Iowans, some among you are second-class citizens who do not have the right to marry the person you love. So will this vote affect my family? Will it affect yours? In the next 2 hours, I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of testimony about how damaging having gay parents is on our kids. But not once have I ever been confronted by an individual who realized independently that I was raised by a gay couple. And you know why? Because the sexual orientation of my parents has had zero impact on the content of my character. Thank you.
Ellie and Lily are a normal couple living in North Carolina. They have 2 children, Josh and Tina, who they love dearly. These two have been in a civil union for the past 10 years, and because of the new amendment in North Carolina, they no longer hold the hopes of one day getting married and making their family official, according to the state. So you two have been in a civil union together, living with 2 children in North Carolina, and now your family has legally been ripped apart. How has this affected your lives?
We still love each other and can spend time together, of course. But just like any other family, we think we deserve the rights to protect our kids. And now we can't really do so. We have financial issues and healthcare issues, and now it's just a lot harder to support a family. We'd been planning on getting married and had high hopes that it would finally be possible. But now it seems like the whole state of North Carolina is moving in the wrong direction. There's nothing we'd rather do than move to another state where same-sex marriage is legal, but moving is really expensive and we can't just uproot our kids and our lives at this point.
Tell me more about how this will affect the lives of your 2 children, Josh and Tina.
I just don't understand why an amendment that is supposed to protect families is ruining ours. We have to deal with issues that divorced parents deal with, like child custody and health care. Divorced parents put themselves in that position, but all we want is to be good parents together to our children, and we don't deserve to have to suffer just because we're gay.
The new amendment alters North Carolina's constitution to say that marriage between one man and one woman is the only domestic legal union that shall be valid or recognized in the state. One man against same-sex marriage said that the Bible is clear. God's definition of marriage is between a man and a woman. I'm sure you've heard people bring religion into this issue a lot. How do you respond to that position, and are you religious at all?
I grew up going to church every Sunday with my family, but since I've come out, I feel alienated and unwelcome in the church. I still feel like a spiritual person and want my kids to be raised that way, but I don't believe that it's fair to think that only one kind of relationship is acceptable. I don't want my kids growing up around intolerance. I think that God made us the way we are for a reason, and I'm disappointed in the church for not acknowledging that.
I know you may feel helpless and that your natural rights have been suppressed by the government, but what can you do and what are you doing to empower yourselves and try to somehow move in the right direction and cope with the changes that have happened in your lives? Do you publicly campaign at all for your cause?
My support for same-sex marriage is totally unwavering. I've not changed my views at all and don't plan on changing them anytime soon. I continue to speak out in the community and raise awareness about how much banning same-sex marriage is hurting families. This problem is not going away anytime soon. We can't brush it under the rug because it will only continue to separate our community.
My last interview was with Manny Kinker, a strong advocate for gay rights but for completely unselfish reasons. She has committed a large amount of her time to the No Hate campaign, an organization that promotes tolerance and campaigns against Proposition 8.
So, Maddie, you are pro-gay marriage. Why do you choose to stand up and be an activist instead of just letting this issue take its own course?
Well, Courtney, being an activist is something that I've always done. Contributing and acting on my beliefs is part of who I am. Also, although I am not gay myself, I have people close to me who are, and I think it is only fair if they have the same rights as me.
If you don't mind, can you please touch on how you are specifically affected by the gay marriage controversy?
My twin brother Cameron is gay. No matter what happens in our future, I will always advocate what I believe is fair. Just because my brother is gay, does that really not give him the right to marry whomever he wants, all because of his sexual orientation? That's preposterous. Also, Cameron has always talked about having children and getting married. With the current controversy, there are certain places where this is unattainable. If he and his partner end up living in the states of North Carolina or Iowa, for example, same-sex marriage is banned. So the state they live in determines if they are a married couple or not? That's just ridiculous.
What have you done recently to show your support of gay marriage?
I have spoken out at many different conventions and conferences. I even flew down to North Carolina and spoke there. My most recent appearance was at the No Hate campaign in New York City.
What is the No Hate campaign?
It is an organization that helps spread peace regardless of sexual orientation. Its mission is to promote marriage, gender, and human equality through education, advocacy, social media, and visual protest. It was created as a direct response to the passage of Proposition 8 in California.
What do you do for the No Hate campaign?
Well, a large part of the No Hate campaign is the photographic silent protest in which people from all areas come to where we set up to take a picture. Everybody dresses up in a plain white t-shirt with duct tape over their mouths, symbolizing their voices being silenced by Proposition 8 and similar legislation around the world, with no hate painted on one cheek in protest.
Has this campaign been successful in aiding and educating those about same-sex marriage?
I think so. Over the past few years, more than 200,000 people have gotten their pictures taken. The silent campaign lets people know that they are not alone, but it also spreads the word that there is nothing wrong with same-sex marriage. This message is important to reiterate as much as we can. The only difference between same-sex marriage is gender. Marriage is not focused on gender. It is focused on the love between two people.